Alright, so this essay, it's an essay. It's called It Was a Powerful Woman After All, Debunking Female Monsters in Al Hopkinson's Brown Girl in the Ring. To start off, I would just like to tell you guys a little bit about the novel itself. It is set in a futuristic or possibly post-apocalyptic time, and so the novel explores the life of Gross Jean and her granddaughter Tai Jean as they face the evil powers that have haunted their family for several years, and so they make their way through the novel and fighting these evil spirits with Santeria. And so for anyone that is not familiar with Santeria, it's a very complicated religion that I am not going to go into detail about, but I would like you to know that it is considered an Afro-Caribbean religion, and so they have various gods and goddesses called orishas, and so the practitioners, after long years of their practice, they are kind of like accepted by one of the god or the goddesses, so they become son or daughter to an orisha, or two, because you can have parent orishas. And also, they also value and know the importance of the balance of good and evil and how that plays out in the world. Alright, so let's get to it. Okay, so female monstrosity has been a prominent theme in literature. Creatures like witches, vampires, and succubuses, or succubi, have filled readers with fear and dread when reading about them. However, the interpretation of these characters has changed throughout the years. Female writers have appropriated these frightening creatures by creating monster-like characters in their works and transforming them to match feminist ideals. We see this approach in Brown Girl in the Ring by Al Hopkinson. In this essay, I will discuss the portrayal of empowered female characters such as Gross Jean or Mommy and Tai Jean, and examine the transformation they go through under the author's pen. To achieve this, I will be using a feminist reading of Succulents and Al Hopkinson, Brown Girl in the Ring by Gisela Anatole, and Normative Societal and Monstrous Female Transgressors by Chelsea Picken. So a little bit of background information on monster literature. The first monster in literature appeared during the 19th century with the release of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which paved the way for monster literature. The monster became a way to establish a difference between good and evil, and this method recognized the good in humans by emphasizing in monsters what society believed were the bad features in people. These ranged from beauty standards to ideal social conduct, which explains why monsters were always ugly and dangerous. This creature created by the man became the other, and everything that fell out of line, out of what society accepted, was considered a monster too. Women have also been victims of being signaled as other because they do not possess the characteristics that men attribute to themselves and consider the status quo. Thus, women become something out of the norm. In Normative Society and Monstrous Female Transgressor, Chelsea Picken explains that women have long been portrayed as monsters in literature and film, often due to their stepping out of the roles society has placed them into and transgressing into the boundaries of male sphere. Shortly after Frankenstein release, the gothic genre became a lot more popular, bringing with it the female monster. The witch remains one of the most popular monsters to this day, and from stories like Hansel and Gretel and Snow and White, we have been exposed to the ugly, unruly, and dangerous creature that has just recently become a female empowering figure in the modern world. So back to the novel. In Brown Girl in the Ring, Gross Jean, the grandma and mother figure, is one of the most important and powerful characters in the novel. She channels spiritual power granted to her by Santeria, making her priestess to a small group of followers within the confines of the pages. Because her knowledge of herbs, which is part of the Santeria practice, the book showcases Gross Jean and Mommy as a doctor. Gross Jean or Mommy, and Mommy is the nickname of Gross Jean. So she is a doctor. In part of the book, her granddaughter Tai Jean explains that Mommy, and I quote, freely mixed her nursing training with her knowledge of herbal cures. However, and because of her religion, many in the book thought her as a witch. As a result, they feared her and even refused to get treated by her. And even after Mommy consistently fought judgment and stereotypical thinking, she continued to help the people as well as practice her religion without fear. As we mentioned before, the witch is one of the most used monsters in literature, yet within the Caribbean, it goes through a complete transformation, where the green colored skin turns to black, while potions and spells become herbs and medicine. By practicing Santeria, a feared and misunderstood religion, Mommy is seen as an evil Obeah woman, or a spiritist woman, marking her as the other. Nonetheless, Mommy's monstrosity is never seen as evil through the eyes of the reader, who, thanks to Hopkinson, only relates to the character's familiarity. A familiarity that enables the Caribbean, Latinx, or Black reader to associate Mommy with grandmother or mother qualities instead of the social construct of brujeria. The readers just perceive a character that reminds them of home, so they do not partake in society's misconceptions and stereotypes. Hopkinson achieved this familiarity by explaining Grosjean's personality and her life. Thanks to her personality, we understand that Grosjean was not a force to be reckoned with. As a true Caribbean woman, she is portrayed as fearless and stern, yet caring. Mommy's character becomes another of her powers. As mentioned in the book, Taijin, and I quote, "Remember how the back of Mommy's hand used to feel when it connected with her face," meaning that she was raised with a stern hand, but respected her grandmother because of it. In addition, Mommy took care of her daughter, Mi-Jin, as a single parent. After throwing her husband out of the house for being physically abusive, Grosjean took care of her daughter by herself and then proceeded to do the same with her granddaughter. There is no reason to call Mommy a weak and powerless woman. On the contrary, she knew her worth and was capable of fighting for her well-being as well as her daughter's. It is through these actions that Mommy shows us resilience, the ability that, unfortunately, all women need in order to succeed in the male-dominated society. Finally, but not less important, we have Taijin, which is Grosjean's granddaughter. And with her sense of parenthood and bravery, in contrast to Mommy, who embodies the literature monster of the witch, Taijin does not directly emanate any societal constructed monsters aside from the rebel. During most of the book, Taijin spends her time trying to stay as far away as her roots as possible, and she consistently denies her gift as a seer and her grandmother's help. Taijin decides to raise her child alone without the help of her lover, her grandmother, or Santeria. So then she decides her own path without taking into consideration her family's traditions or destiny's obvious attempts to force her to it. And so even after she fights her grandfather along with the oldest ones, or Orishas, she continues to ponder the option of just leaving her past behind and starting over. This mindset makes Taijin a great empowering character for women. Even after she does not practice Santeria, she uses it and proves to be normal at it. With the help of the spirits and Legbara, which is her father Orisha, she is able to defeat the bad guy, save herself, save her son, and eventually avenge her grandmother's eventual death. Taijin becomes the most powerful character in the novel, even surpassing Mommy's powers, impossible to match before. After defeating the evil spirits of her grandfather, Taijin also takes Mommy's place as a doctor. Her motivation and determination surfaces in the name of love and the love she had for her family, so her power is based on the connection she once held with her grandmother and her growing child. Contrary to what Giselle Anatole mentions in her work, in classical European fairy tales, women with power are evil, and evil women are typically depicted as aged and anti-maternal. We see how Taijin, along with her grandmother Grosjean, prove that powerful women can be mothers as well as healers. Unlike the transformation the witch goes through in the novel, we only see maturity from Taijin, who learns to accept her roots and her grandmother's teachings. The reader, along with Taijin, learns the importance of good and evil and the balance between them. It could be interpreted that Taijin portrays feminist ideas through her strong opinions and ability to learn and progress. Finally, Taijin's emotions make her the strongest woman in the novel, even stronger than Mami, the widely respected Santeria priestess that knew what she was dealing for the entirety of her life. Taijin's parenthood is also important on the topic of monsters. As we said earlier, powerful women are often imagined as ugly, anti-maternal creatures that are often too fog or hungry to care for anything else. However, Taijin defies these stereotypes and becomes an empowering figure for single mothers who decide to support and fight for their children without the help of men. In conclusion, we see how literature has worked as a tool for society to condemn feelings, physical features, religion, and women through the monster. Examples like Frankenstein, the witch, the vampire, and the succubus all draw the line between what is accepted socially and what is not. Female monstrosity takes a big part of the discussion because it is completely labeled as the other in order to control and force submission. In Brown, Good, and the Ring, Nell Hopkinson uses her platform to analyze and transform this monster. She deconstructs them for us to see what society keeps from us. The witch proves to be a caring woman with the ability to cure people while reminding us of our own mothers and grandmothers. Santeria stops being scary, and we discover the true spirituality behind it.